This is why I'm so fascinated by these ancient sites, because it's like there's so much information to learn. It's like it never ends.
Because when you come to Thailand or Cambodia or India, it's very interesting because we're still, India is very much the last bastion of a pagan civilization. We're like 1 billion people worshiping the gods. They talk about the Vimanas or the flying machines. They talk about Brahmastra or the nuclear bomb. By a god or in memory of a god many thousands of years ago. This is called Sthala Purana. This used to be the original history of any temple before Europeans came in, and they started to institutionalize this field of archaeology and history.
Right. Wow. This is just so amazing. This is why I'm so fascinated by these ancient sites, because it's like there's so much information to learn. It's like it never ends. We can keep studying them, over and over and over. And it's like we'll see more and more. And the more you go to Thailand, the more knowledge you're going to gain, the more explanation you can give. It's like just a never ending story, which is just so mind boggling. With the temples and the gods that, well, do they say that the gods created these temples, or did they taught mankind how to create them?
So there are two stories, and these stories, which is because when you come to Thailand or Cambodia or India, it's very interesting because we're still, the last bastion of a pagan civilization. India is very much the last bastion of a pagan civilization. We're like 1 billion people worshiping the gods.
Wow.
So we're worshiping all Shiva and Vishnu, and we worship them as real gods who came, and they lived here, flesh and blood, walked with us. You understand?
Yeah.
So and this culture, Egypt used to be such a culture, right? And Rome and Greece used to be that culture, right? But that culture is no longer there. But in India, we still have it. In Thailand, people call themselves Buddhists, but they're still very Hindu, and Buddhism and Hinduism are very much closely linked together. So if you go and ask in any Hindu temple, you will get two different types of history. So one, if you ask the priest, that he will tell you that the temple was built thousands of years ago. So he would come up with a number like 5,000 years, 10,000 years, 15,000 years. That's the timeline that the priest will give. He will bring up texts, ancient texts like Ramayana and Mahabharata and the Vedas, which were written thousands of years ago. And they mention, and they talk about very advanced information. They talk about the Vimanas or the flying machines. They talk about Brahmastra or the nuclear bombs. That's so you will hear this history from any priest who's managing a Hindu temple. He's not going to say this temple was built 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago by this king. That's usually not the case. He's going to tell us it was built by a god or in memory of a god many thousands of years ago. This is called Sthala Purana. This used to be the original history of any temple before Europeans came in, and they started to institutionalize this field of archaeology and history. This Sthala Purana, the history that was handed down to these priests, over generations, always talks about the gods or built in memory of the gods 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. But after the Europeans came in and they started to rewrite the history books, then they said, well, this makes no sense, right? This makes no sense. So they started to attribute that. And even today, even in Thailand, in like pyramids, like we have a pyramid called the Sita Pyramid. This is an actual pyramid that's in Thailand.
Wow. So
if you go and talk to the locals, they actually do not know who built this pyramid. So the Phi Mai temple, again, archaeologists actually kind of, because it's in Thailand, right? Archaeologists are much more humble and they accept the truth. They say, we're only seeing the styles that match this building style. We don't know when the Phi temple was built. We don't know when the Sita pyramid was built. Okay. But even then, the pyramids you see in Thailand, you see two pyramids, and the pyramids you see are about 1,300 to 1,500 years old.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Okay. Wow. But they could be much older, but they could be like 10,000 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. I would believe that more, that they're really old, man. Some of this stuff is really ancient, and the time scales that we've been given or taught to believe are just don't match up with some of the base or foundation stones, the megalithic size of some of these stones, and even just some of the geology of the surrounding area kind of can give you clues that some of these structures could have been pre-diluvial, and which is what I've been starting to find out a lot more recently, starting to isolate and understand some of these sites are pre-diluvial. And then later on, some parts were rebuilt and added on top, post-diluvial, after the flood. So it seems as if a lot of these temples have been upkept, and some of these ancient sites, even some of the pyramids, have been kind of refurbished, pieces put back together, or a person comes and claims ownership of it and kind of refurbishes it, cleans it up, and puts their name on it. It's pretty interesting. With these temples in Thailand, and so we have, these gods that used to walk the earth, and do you see personally any link between those gods and maybe some of the gods known as the Anunnaki? Is there, in your opinion, is there any link between these ancient beings from all around the world that have been mentioned in ancient texts, or do they seem like an isolated group of people?
In my opinion, and I've made videos about this as early as maybe 2017, maybe 8 years ago, I've made videos about this on YouTube, that the Anunnaki is basically the Naga gods. Okay, so they called Anu's like very much like, and Nagi means god, Naga or snake or reptilian gods. Okay,
yeah. So
we see the same gods again and again in India. It's not an isolated group of reptile-like gods. Okay? Mm-hmm. So we can see, for example, the word Naga itself. You'll see that in Egypt it's called Nehebkal. This god is called Nehebkal. It just appears the same thing, like
it's the same thing. I know.
Yeah. And then you can see this all over the Mediterranean, Nakash. The same thing with Sarpa as well. We call it Sarpa, Sarpa, but the same thing as serpent. It appears as serpent, as Seraph. So it's the same reptile-like gods that existed all over. We can see the same. If you start to map out, all the ancient texts, the Egyptian texts, the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Vedas, and all that stuff, you will find incredible parallel lines between all these stories. It's so amazing that, I mean, and sometimes, for example, in Sumerians and Akkadians, for example, you will see the Devas, right, and the Ahuras, right? So the Devas, or the Ahuras, are the gods in Sumerians, and the Devas are the demons, for example, right? So they're the evil god. In India, it's the complete opposite.
Yes.
Okay. In India, the Asuras are the demons, and the Devas are the gods. So now, if you put this in perspective, right? So if you're an American, Putin is like a villain, or Stalin is a villain. But if you go to Russia, Stalin or Putin is the hero, right? And Trump is a villain, right? So it's just what is happening in ancient times between two different regions, And this is why we see that for India, the Asuras were the bad guys. But for them, the Ahuras were the good guys.
Yeah. We see the same method of divide and conquer tactics, and his story being prevailing story of, hey, we're the good ones, those are the bad ones, right? Believe us and ignore them, or don't follow them because we're right on this side. It's the same cycle for thousands of years. Yeah, it's so incredible, these stories. And I knew the answer, but I wanted you to say it because sometimes people have to hear things coming from someone else's opinion, their perspective, especially an expert like yourself. So it's not only just keep coming from my mouth, other people have the same prevailing theories and understandings based on real field research and investigation. So, your work, man, is just impeccable. What are some of the other sites you're going to in Thailand?
We're going to an ancient site called Ayutthaya. Okay. In that, you'll see a lot of Buddhist stupas. We're going to one particular temple known as Wat Ratchapurana. And in this temple, they found the largest ancient treasure in Thailand. Wow. Okay. 100 kilograms of gold alone, along with other gemstones. And we are going to climb the stupa. Stupa is basically a Buddhist religious structure for if someone did not know about it. So we're going to climb this ancient stupa and we're going to go inside and we're going to go into the main chamber. But until about 50 or 80 years ago, nobody knew there was an underground chamber. Okay. So what really happens? I don't know how you feel about this because you explore all these Egyptian structures and things like that. So when we go into an ancient site, we only observe what we see, right? We cannot understand what we do not see, right? And this is a big human weakness, right? We don't see everything. We only see what we can actually see, right?
Yeah.
So until about a few decades ago, all these people in Thailand and the visitors would go to this ancient temple. They would climb up and they would worship the Buddha standing in the main chamber. Okay. But they realized there's about 100 feet of underground chambers. There are 3 layers of underground chambers.
Wow.
Okay. And they're finding 100 kilograms of gold. Okay, and they found objects, Billy, that are incredible. If you ever get a chance, try and come, or you can search it online about the Wat Ratchapurana temple in Thailand, and you will find things that actually look like rockets with like an antenna on top, and you will and inside, like they put a lot of gold, they put a lot of like silver, and they put a lot of gemstones all over their false ceilings. But in the last chamber, in the bottommost chamber, okay, you'll find 7 layers of lingam made of like iron, silver. Inside, they found a golden stupa with a Buddha sitting in there. Okay. And in front of him, there was a crystal. In front of that Buddha, there was a crystal. So think about how they actually created the structure. Okay. So how we think of the temples is completely different, right? So we think, an ancient Hindu or a Buddhist temple, we walk into the temple, there's like a statue, we worship the gods, and we go on about our business, right? But underneath where you're standing, there is a whole new world, right? Wow. There's like chamber after chamber, and all this gold and gem, unbeknownst to you, and you're completely unaware of this. And we're going there and praying in front of the Buddha or Shiva, but underneath your very legs, you're having 100 kilograms like crystal. Imagine the effect. Imagine the effect that these things could have on you.
Yeah. That is just mind-blowing. And did they categorize this gold and save it, or has it been stolen?
Very good question. They're very interested. So that's a good question. A lot of it was looted, and only a small percent was recovered by Thailand police.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay, a lot of it was looted, but if you still go to the Bangkok Museum, whatever was recovered, including that golden stupa, is still there. Okay, I don't know if that's a replica because that's what they usually do, but if you go to the Bangkok Museum, whatever they've recovered, they've put it. But yes, a lot of it was stolen. Okay.
Mhm.
And this is where it gets really, really weird, because when a local person who's mostly uneducated or who's greedy steals a gold object, right? He only looks at it as a gold object. He's just going to probably even melt it and sell it for gold.
Yeah.
But we don't know what kind of information was hidden in that. We don't know if they had inscriptions on that. Especially in Thailand Museum, you can find like a golden elephant, like this size, like a golden elephant.
Mhm.
They thought it was a solid object, okay? But like maybe 10 years ago, they realized they could open the neck. They could twist the neck. It was actually a container. Okay. But so there was nothing inside. They say, well, some people say there was like traces of palm leaves inside. Unconfirmed, right? So the real treasure is not the gold or money, right? The real treasure is writings or technology that's hidden inside these things, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you know this, right? We have lost all these valuable things from ancient places in Egypt and on all the other temples as well.
Yeah, these things just keep disappearing. I mean, I just did a post on X, I think maybe 2 days ago, about like the top 10 things recently stolen within the last few years from Egypt. Just recently, yeah, an incredible priceless piece of art was stolen out of one of the temple areas. Yeah, and a bracelet was stolen. They recovered it, but it was already melted down. It was a bracelet. It was gold. It was like electrum. It was gold and silver, which is very hard to combine. And that was melted down already. And then, but you just keep going. More recently, this is a new thing right now. Looters are on the rise at these ancient sites because a lot of these ancient sites, as you know, don't really have the highest level of security. They have some, but not the highest level. And so now looting is the next big thing I see. Is it's going to create a situation, where it's going to get sites more restricted. So it's great to have people like you taking people on tours to Thailand and other places so that people can get a chance to experience these things at a high level, because it may be in the future that a tourist may not just be able to just walk up and buy their own ticket. They may have to go through an organizer or a company like yours or mine to actually get access to anything, because then we will be the ones responsible, and probably they will make us get some type of insurance or something in the future. But they've got to find a way to restrict some of this theft, because I'm pretty sure people aren't going there on tour and stealing things. It's got to be private individuals, getting in by themselves and obviously doing some things that are not really good. So, but yeah, this is just, gold is a great thing though, because gold, if you research gold, is technological. And so when I started analyzing why does gold keep coming up as something in the ancient past, I began to realize it's not just for adornment, to make jewelry and put on your teeth and make bracelets and things like that. The highest level of the gods is just like we talked about the computer analogy, understanding what you can do with something. So when you take gold and from a technological mind, from an astrophysics mind, you understand that you can take gold and make extremely advanced technology, just like the cell phone. Our cell phones have a gold inside of them. If it didn't have gold, the cell phone wouldn't work. We find that gold is a great conductor of electricity, and you don't lose anything in friction. So as electricity travels down a gold wire, whatever you put on one side, you get out on the other side, whereas copper, even if it's insulated, you lose some of the energy in friction. And then we know that gold reflects radiation, which is why they use it in astronauts' masks and so forth. And computer chips that go into space, and spaceships are radiation hardened computer circuits that are aligned with gold. So all this stuff with gold really is a high science, high technological thing. Yeah. And so you have to have it. So it's telling me, sending me a signal when you tell me about this gold, again, that whatever the people witnessed, whatever they saw with the ancients, the gods of old, they must have seen them using a lot of gold, but I think they were utilizing it for technology. And then the people were honoring them with the gold as gifts, not fully knowing or understanding exactly what they had to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even today, it's interesting you're bringing this up today. Today is Diwali, the biggest Indian festival of all the fireworks. And if you see the satellite map today in India, go crazy because it's completely lit up. right?
Wow.
So because we're all doing fireworks and stuff, it's very closely related to buying gold. If you look up what percent of gold is owned by Indian women, you would be amazed, because they're always wearing gold and they're buying gold. In India, gold is still used very much. Okay, so India people are buying gold every day. We're talking about all lower to middle class to upper class people always buying gold jewelry, because one thing about gold is that, of course, you're absolutely right. All the computers, the phones, everything needs gold, right? Because it has a lot of technical properties like conductivity. But if you take gold and if you take any metal and put it in, like, for example, salt water, right? 100 years later, it will be completely gone, except gold. Gold is just impossible to destroy. Okay, so the gold is always there. It is very much like rocks. If you think about it, and this is why people are always like making the statues out of gold, or they're making it out of stone or rocks. Okay, because if you had created an amazing temple with wood or like iron or any other metal or anything else, it would be gone.
Yeah.
Right. So if you made it with granite, it's still standing there. Right. And the same thing is, I suspect that, maybe initially a lot of statues were made of gold, but the looters would just pick them up and they probably melted it. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, gold is, yeah. So gold is very, nothing happens to it. It's very resistant. And this is why all the alchemists, they were all trying to make gold, because gold was the most important thing. Yeah. Same thing with rocks. I always say India is very lucky, and Hindus they probably used their heads to make all these structures with just rocks. Okay, they don't even use mortar or cement between the stone blocks, right?
Yeah,
and that's why it's still standing there.
Yeah, incredible. It's really incredible. These people understood how to utilize rocks, stone, different types of stone, and elements like gold, to create these multifunctional stone machines that had so many incredible purposes. It's just mind-boggling. And it really makes a lot of sense, because if I'm an interplanetary civilization, I have the ability to go from planet to planet, and I want to set up my version of a high society breakaway civilization. When I arrive there, there's not going to be an industry of factories and employees to build my technology, right? I can't create that on the fly. But what I can do is I can leave these stone multifunctional machines and computers behind. And I know that if I master the frequency of the stone, the resonance of the earth, the magnetic fields, and some elements like gold and others, I can create a machine with no moving parts, a solid state machine, just like an SSD drive in your laptop or your computer. And when I come back in 1,000 years, it will still be there. And it might need a little tweaking, but it will still function. It's a really ingenious way of building, remote outposts on different planets. That's incredible.